Have you ever been in a massive crowd and felt that, I don't know, that electric buzz? Well, today we're going to dig into that powerful feeling, and we're going to trace it all the way back to this really wild, century-old theory about where religion itself actually comes from. So, let's get into it. Okay, so just picture it for a second. Think about a concert, a huge protest, or maybe a championship sports game. There's always that moment, right? The moment where you almost forget you're an individual and you just become part of something way, way bigger.
You know that feeling. It's this incredible sense of connection, a shared emotion that's so hard to put into words. It's not just that you're having a good time. It feels like the energy in the air has its own life, its own force.
Well, it turns out, over 100 years ago, a sociologist had this radical idea. He said that feeling isn't just a fun side effect. Nope. He believed it was the actual source of what we call the sacred, the divine. He thought it was the origin of religion itself. So the guy with this big idea was the French sociologist Emile Durkheim. And back in 1912, he wrote this masterpiece called The Elementary Forms of the Religious Life. In it, he tried to find the absolute core, the essence of all religion, by looking at what he thought was its simplest form, the totemism of Australian Aboriginal clans. And this quote, this is the heart of his entire argument. See, he noticed that these clans would worship a sacred totem. Let's say it's a kangaroo. But the kangaroo wasn't just their god. It was also the symbol of the clan itself. So Durkheim had this aha moment. What if they weren't really worshiping a kangaroo? What if, without even realizing it, they were worshiping the power of their own community, their own society? For him, the god is the society. Durkheim even came up with a name for this incredible group energy: collective effervescence. I love that term. It's that bubbling up of shared feeling that happens when people get together with a common focus. It's a moment of intense connection where the group just feels so much more powerful than any one person in it. And he basically broke it down into a 4-step process. First, people get together for some kind of ritual. Then, because they're all focused on the same thing, their emotions get amplified. That's the effervescence. To kind of bottle up that powerful feeling, they tie it to a symbol, like a totem. So when they worship the totem, what they're really doing is worshiping the incredible power of their own social bond. Now, Durkheim's whole approach, this idea of finding one single universal essence of religion, was actually pretty controversial. And to really get why, we need to bring in another giant of sociology who was working at the exact same time, Max Weber. These two had completely opposite ways of looking at this. Durkheim was adamant. He said you have to start with a very clear definition of religion, otherwise, how do you even know what you're studying? But Weber? He said no way, that's impossible, and it actually misses the point. For him, the goal wasn't to find some universal thing, but to compare different religions in all their unique, complex glory. And, it's worth mentioning that today, a lot of modern scholars like Talal Asad have really critiqued Durkheim's whole project. They argue that our very idea of religion is a pretty modern Western concept, and trying to apply one universal definition everywhere risks, well, forcing our own ideas onto other cultures. So, okay, we've got this fascinating, brilliant, but let's be honest, very old theory. Durkheim thought this collective effervescence was the birth of all things sacred. But is it, real? Can you actually measure it? And does it still happen? For more than 100 years, it was really just this powerful idea, a concept in a book. But not long ago, a team of researchers decided, you know what? Let's actually put this to the test. Let's find out what really creates that buzz in a modern crowd. And where do you go to find a modern version of an ancient tribal ritual? A massive, multi-day music festival. Of course. The Roskilde Festival in Denmark became their natural laboratory to study tens of thousands of people all gathered together in a state of, well, potential effervescence. So this study, which was done in 2019 by Lasse Suenprea Liebst, it really tried to pinpoint what causes this feeling. Is it about your personality, the people you're with, or is it something simpler, like just where you happen to be standing? They measured a bunch of different factors, things like focused interaction, which is basically just how much you chatted with the camps near you. Then compositional factors like your age or if you're a big partier. And then, and this is the crucial part, what Durkheim called social morphology. It's a fancy term for the physical density of the crowd and where your camp is located. And here are the results. This is so cool. So yeah, talking to your neighbors and liking a party, that had some effect. But just look at the bottom two rows. The absolute strongest predictors were social density, literally just being in a packed crowd, and this thing called spatial lag, which means the buzz from other nearby areas was contagious. This chart just makes it crystal clear. Talking to people? A pretty weak effect. Liking to party? A bigger one, sure. But look at that last bar. The single biggest thing driving that feeling of collective effervescence was social density, the sheer number of people packed into one space. So here's the kicker, the big takeaway. That amazing feeling wasn't really created by your conversations or even your personality. It was something that just emerged from the crowd itself. Durkheim's focus on social morphology, the physical shape and density of the group, was totally 100% spot on, even a century later. And that brings us right back to the beginning, that electric buzz you feel at a concert or a game. It's a modern echo of the exact same force that Durkheim believed gave birth to human religion. It's a fundamental social glue that still binds us together in our own modern-day rituals. And that really just leaves one final thought for you. Think about your own life. A stadium, a protest, a concert, maybe even a huge family wedding. Where have you felt it? That powerful, undeniable energy of the crowd. It's a really basic, fundamental part of what makes us human.